In the late 19th century, moving cargo or warships between the Atlantic and Pacific required a journey around the tip of South America, directly through some of the most dangerous waters on Earth. This map shows the scale of the problem. That 8,000-mile detour added months to every voyage. For decades, global powers shared a single geographic dream: slice the Americas in half and bypass the Horn entirely. The solution lay in Panama, a 50-mile strip of dense jungle and volcanic mountain that formed the thinnest physical barrier between the two oceans. Controlling this 50-mile shortcut was the era's ultimate geopolitical prize. It promised to slash the cost of global trade and allow a navy to move its entire fleet between oceans in a fraction of the time it previously took. The French arrived first in the 1880s. Fresh off their success building the Suez Canal, they assumed the Panamanian jungle would yield as easily as the sands of Egypt. They were wrong. They treated a mountainous, tropical rainforest like a flat desert, and the result was a collapse of both engineering and logistics. They left millions of dollars in machinery to rust in the rising swamp water. The specific point that broke the French expedition was a 9-mile stretch of solid mountain along the Continental Divide, known as the Culebrera Cut. Building locks and dams was within the era's capabilities, but carving a deep, navigable trench straight through the spine of the continent was considered mathematically impossible. When the Americans took over in 1904, they realized they weren't facing an excavation problem. They were facing a transportation bottleneck. Their solution was a massive, shifting network of rails designed for one purpose: moving mountains of excavated earth out of the trench as fast as possible. Steam shovels worked in a synchronized loop, scooping up tons of rock and releasing it directly into waiting rail cars. These dirt trains ran on a constant cycle to keep the worksite clear. As the shovels dug deeper, track crews had to manually uproot and slide miles of heavy iron rails into new positions every day to keep the trains within reach of the machines. The strategy relied on industrial-scale brute force. They intended to overwhelm the mountain through sheer, synchronized volume. But the mountain had a hidden defense. The rock at Culebra was not solid granite. It was fractured volcanic shale, an incredibly unstable material. Panama's torrential rains frequently turned this shale into a thick liquid slurry that bogged down the steam shovels and flooded the work zones. The result was the landslide. The Cucaracha slide moved 1 million cubic yards of earth in a single event, which completely swallowed 5 separate track lines at the bottom of the cut. It was a crushing psychological blow. Teams would spend months clearing a section only to watch the mountain slide down and refill the trench in a few hours. This was the paradox of the cut. The deeper the engineers dug, the faster and harder the mountain tried to bury them. To finish the job, the engineers had to stop trying to cut a narrow vertical trench. They had to adopt a reactive approach. They moved to stepped terraces. Cutting the mountain at shallower angles relieved the crushing weight causing the lower slopes to fail. This was a punishing choice. Lowering the wall's angle effectively quadrupled the amount of earth removed to reach the same depth. This required years of relentless manual labor, with thousands of men digging drainage ditches by hand to manage the water and keep the shifting mud from stalling the project again. The final cut was a massive artificial canyon. Looking down from the heights of Gold Hill, the steam locomotives at the bottom appear like toys. Victory was won by outlasting the mountain through a decade-long loop of excavation and adaptation. While the cut was a battle against mud, the entrances were defined by precision. Massive concrete locks were constructed at both ends of the isthmus. In 1913, the final dikes were breached, allowing water to flood the dry, scarred trench of the cut for the first time. In August 1914, the SS Ancon completed the first transit, passing from the cut into the locks and officially uniting the oceans. The 8,000-mile detour around the Cape was gone. For the first time, a navy could reinforce the Pacific from the Atlantic in days rather than months, a shift that changed the logistics of international defense. Today, the cut still handles massive cargo vessels that dwarf the ships of 1914, moving a significant portion of the world's commercial goods every year. The canal is often presented as a tidy victory of human ingenuity over a passive landscape. But the jagged walls of the Culebra Cut tell a different story. This trench is a permanent scar on the Earth, a reminder that this shortcut was only achieved through a brutal, decade-long war of attrition against the landscape itself.